Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming to the Business Roundtable once again. We appreciate it. We're a few minutes late here starting, but I promise that I will keep things brief and get us into the important part of this presentation where Alon is going to be sharing the topic of the day, which is emotional relevance in business, and showing us some really interesting and useful information. Again, just appreciate everyone showing up. We got a fair amount of people in the group here. Hope you got a chance to test out the networking at the beginning, just talk to people, get to meet some other people. If you want to raise your hand while you're in listening to the presentation, you can do that. We'll bring you up just by clicking on your name and doing that. So we can do those things, and then share information. Alon this is going to be a very interactive event. Doing the run through it this week, man, we were using our phones, and it's just great. It's good stuff. So again, we put this thing together a while ago to help businesses as they were dealing with the Corona challenge, as we'll call it. And now as we are going back to the workplace, we're trying to figure out how to do business. We're going to be speaking on more of those topics. And this week, emotional relevance in business, I think is very important for us to think about. And Alon Zaibert is a relationship-driven sales executive. He's been doing this for a while now. His last position was vice president of sales for a $20 billion organization, where he was able to leverage his abilities, both interpersonal skills and sales abilities, and use emotional relevance to create genuine and lasting relationships. And I'm really excited to have him here. The conversations leading up to this, it's really going to be fun for us today. And without further delay and my rambling, let's get Alon show it. Also, we have Andrew Cross from Exit Your Way, Jonny Kingman from Exit Your Way on the stage. They're going to be monitoring the chat and the other things that are happening in the background. So put questions in the Q&A. Hit the chat with your LinkedIn stuff if you want people to connect. Do those kind of things. And there will be networking after this. So if you want to talk to somebody too, that's another thing you can do. Send them a private message. If there's somebody specific, you can just click on the participants and do that. Trying to get the other housekeeping stuff. Did I miss anything, Andrew? Okay.
Nope.
We good to go, John?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I think we're all set.
Rocking. Well, without further delay, Alon Zaibert, take the stage, man. Excited.
Thank you, Andrew. This is awesome. I mean, Damon, Andrew and Jonny.
Welcome.
And Damon, everybody. Thank you. I just want to mention one quick thing for everybody here, that we crossed the international borders today. We have somebody from the UK. We also have somebody from Israel on the line, which is pretty fascinating. And so the beauty of technology. Thank you for the introduction. And like Damon said, this is going to be interactive. Please, if you have any questions, we have Jonny and Andrew monitoring the chat. And so if you have any questions, chime in. I will be here after, staying around. How cool is that when we get everybody to interact and jump from one room to another? I mean, how cool technology can be. And for me, it's also very, very cool, because this is what I talk about. How do you bridge some of these missing elements when we're face to face? So in about 35 minutes or so, these are the things that you will know, you'll be familiar with. And you'll see as I go through the presentation, I'm not big on reading off of the slide. Y'all can read. That's awesome. So these are the three things we're going to talk about all around emotional relevance. Not just what it is and not just the components of it, but actually some tips and how to do it, whatever business you are today. Now, it's a big topic. So I took one specific niche of it, if you may, to highlight, which is the communication, especially these days, where we have some things that people talk around brand detachment. because people are at home and they don't communicate with us, the business providers, as often. There's brand detachment. So communicating with our customers emotionally is even more important. So I would like to start with a quick story. I have a dollar coin in my hand. It's a picture of that dollar coin in my hand. And Jonny, let me ask you real quick. If I offered you to buy this coin, how much would you pay for it?
75 cents.
75. Andrew, you want to up him a little?
I'll give you $1 for it.
$1. Damon, last opportunity.
Let's see it one more time.
There it is.
Oh, yeah. That's $1.25 all day long.
$1.25. So what I'm trying to show you is that this $1 Susan B. Anthony dollar from 1980 is right now perceived to be worth about $1. That's pretty much all I'm going to get for it. Let me tell you a story. Many years ago, I had a friend. That's a picture of him. His name is Moses. In Hebrew, the nickname is Mosh. We used to call him Mosh. And 1993, after 3 years in the Israeli military, I left Israel for the first time and moved to San Diego to go to school, play basketball. I grew up playing basketball. And Mosh was a good friend. We grew up together. And we were playing basketball together. We spent nights and days together. And for many, many years, we became super close. And he had a couple more months in the service. And we always dreamed to go to college together and play ball in the U.S. Never been to the U.S. before. Somehow ended up in a college in San Diego. And before I left Israel, Moshe gave me that coin, right? Moshe gave me that coin and he said, listen, keep it for good luck. And when I come in 3 months to the second semester, I'll join you and then you'll give it back to me. Okay? It was 4 months later or so. So I left in August or July, August, started school. November 9th, 1993, Moshe and 3 other friends drove down to Eilat, which is a south city in Israel, kind of a combination of Palm Springs and Miami Beach on the Red Sea. And on the way back, they drove back and all 4 of them crashed into a truck and died on the spot. I want to ask you something, guys. How much do you think this is worth for me now?
Yeah.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Now, who in the room didn't feel that chills when I told you the story? You see, what I just did, I took you through an emotional experience right now. But I also planted an emotional anchor, which is one of the first elements when we go through emotional experience, right? Now, in this case, it was a sad and personal experience. There are 2 primarily main aspects to emotional relevance. One, to be remembered. And the other one, and please write it down, everybody. To be remembered, the other one is to add value. And later I'll walk you through how to do it. But it's science and psychology prove to us that when we go through an emotional experience, we remember. It's engraved in our mind. Damon, I want to ask you a question. Where were you when this happened?
When?
Where were you when 9/11 happened? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was in a break room at a company I was running in Linwood. I remember the guy was standing beside me. I remember seeing it on television.
Now, if I ask you and everybody else where you were when it happened, and close your eyes for 1 second and think and describe the room where you were, the people you were, I can guarantee you remember every detail of it. And again, why is it? It's because when we go through an emotional experience, deep emotional experience, we tend to remember everything, right? If I ask you what you had for breakfast last Tuesday, I bet you don't remember because it wasn't an emotional experience. Now, It doesn't have to be a sad event. Let's do something interesting. I spoke on the networking piece before with a gentleman called Brett. Can you bring Brett to the stage real quick, Damon?
Yeah, go ahead, Johnny, and
I'll bring him on up.
yeah.
Because what I want to show you.
1 second, quick. Do you want the presentation up?
Yeah,
because I don't
share
think
your
they're
screen
seeing
once
it.
again. I don't think we're seeing that, Alan.
Really?
Alon.
Okay.
Some folks in the audience are. Yep.
Sorry.
There we
I don't
go.
know
There
what
it is. Now we got it.
Sorry.
Oh, that's why. That's why you
I
didn't
was
know.
like-
That's why you didn't know what I was referring to.
Yeah. No, it still
Yeah.
hits me though. I mean, it
Hey.
still hits me. It's tough.
It was good even without the visual aid.
Oh shoot!
You know,
I should think of that
Yeah.
so much.
every year,
We can see it now.
every year in 9/11, when we see a show, we see the picture, it brings back that emotion. When I just asked you to remember it, it brought back that emotion, right? Heck, even if you just see 9/11, the numbers 9/11, it's so engraved in us, right? The point is, imagine if you could take your customers through an emotional experience, plant it as an emotional anchor, and then just like I did now with 9/11, trigger that experience again and again. Super powerful. But like I said, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. Brett, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning.
If I asked you back in your childhood, back in the days, to think of an experience you had when you were a kid, something positive, something that happened, I don't know, your folks gave you a gift, you won an award, what comes to mind?
The first thing that comes to mind from a positive childhood experience, it's hard to follow up 9/11, first of all. However, that being said, back on my 6th birthday, I received a hamster. It was my first pet, my first real pet that I received. And I remember riding home in the car with my family, and the little hamster in the critter container, for lack of a better word, was poking its little whiskers out from that too. And I was very excited. I even remember my grandma was with me because she was saying, my nudge Momo, because she was saying, "Where's my Brett? Where's my Brett?" Talking.
All right, so let me ask you a
Very
question.
vivid memory. Yeah.
What do you feel? What are you feeling right now? Like physically feeling right now? You're just remembering it.
Oh, I was very how my
Right now, how are you
after-
feeling right now? Remembering it.
Good. I feel great. Yeah, I feel pumped
Excited?
up. Yeah.
Excited?
Excited. Yes, I almost feel that 6-year-old, that boyish excitement for my hamster. I almost want to get a hamster now, but I'm not. But
Again, to prove the point that once we go through an emotional experience, right, then if you had the ability to trigger that again and again, it's amazing the relationship, the closeness, and the stickiness that we can create with our customers if we learn how to do it. So let's break it down a second. And Brett, thank you very much for joining. And,
Very good.
maybe for your next birthday, you can get a hamster. That's awesome.
thank you. I'm considered underrated pet. Underrated.
Very good.
So in order to understand the basic and how to create emotional relevance, I'm going to go back to the quick basic of communication. What you're looking at right now is the effective communication cycle. This is for any type of communication, whether we speak, we text, we email, doesn't matter what it is. This is the basic, right? It starts right here on when we send, the sender. In some models, you'll see it called as the encoder, right? Then it's the channel of communication. In this case right now, it's Remo, right? We are all in one platform, and I keep sending messages, and the channel is the video, and Remo basically is the channel. And whoever is listening right now is the receiver. But let me tell you something. The most important piece of this cycle is the feedback, right? This is the most crucial piece of the cycle. Andrew, let me put you on the spot. Why do you think the feedback is the most important piece?
That's the connection. To find out, yeah.
When we get the feedback back, it could be as simple as, "Hey, Damon, are you hearing me okay?"
Yes, I am.
That's all I need, right? That was a quick cycle of communication when Damon went, "Yes, I do. I know he can hear me." Now the message was received exactly how I designed it. So when you get a feedback, right, it helps you, first of all, get the message across right. Secondly, to get some of information of how they feel, right? Or other information sometimes with the response. But it also shows us that it has to be a two-way channel of communication to be successful. Most businesses today don't realize how important the two-way channel of communication. Most businesses send an email and say, "Here's what I want to tell you. Here's a special going on. Here is a promotion that we're doing. But I want to tell you that it's so important to make it a two-way channel of communication." Now, when we don't get a feedback, email, text, so many things can go wrong. So many things can break down in the communication. And I want to show you a quick example of when, hold on, let me put it here, when things can go wrong. Okay? So, hold on, I need to copy the URL. Andrew is laughing. Hold on. There it is. Coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you have your sound up. And here it is. Share video, autoplay. Here's an example of failed communication, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, no, sorry. Stop it. Wrong video, stop it. Here's the video coming up. Who's playing it? Stop it.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, thank you. Here we go. Share video. Yes, we're learning. First time I'm using Remo. Here we go, guys. A good example of a broken down communication.
Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät des Überlebensradar. Das hier ist mein Sektor. Das hier ist das wichtigste Gerät des Küstenwächters. Das Gerät des Überlebensradar. Hey. Hello, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Over. We are thinking. This is the German Coast Guard. We're thinking. What are you thinking about?
Okay. Just a great example of what could go wrong. And by the way, there's a lot of things when we communicate that could go wrong. This was a good example of accent, language, and other things. And it's awesome to see the responses, by the way. I just noticed that people are responding to what we're talking about. So thank you. We'll be working for GoDaddy customer service soon.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about a little reminder we have to be remembered and to add value. Right? So we talked about the two-way channel of communication, and we talked about the two main elements of emotional relevance. And with that, I want to kind of give you my recipe, if you may, for how to create emotional relevance. My 3-step recipe, how to create emotional relevance. The first one is to stand out. This is a great picture of me. A couple months ago, I was presenting at an amazing event right before Barack Obama. It was an amazing event, and the Blumen Group were performing there, so I got to play around with them. The second one is make an impact. If you can read, this is a really funny story. My name, Alon Zaibert. So my friends, actually, American friends, call me AZ. And then I saw this guy in a truck at a gas station one day. And I just had to take a picture because I put it on Facebook, by the way. I posted it and I said, I didn't know I had fans all over the world. And the third one is, get personal. So let's talk about standing out. A couple of years ago, I was working with a media company. We had a conference in Houston, and we were presenting to groups of executives from the retail world. And they were sitting in one room, and they had different companies come and pitch to them. You had 15-minute slots, and they were sitting there for hours. You would buy the time to pitch to them.
Yeah.
And we were to present right after lunch. And I knew it. So we got 15 minutes bracket there to come into the room and set it up. And as we're setting up, I figured to myself, my God, probably by now, they don't even realize who they're talking to. They've gone through like 16 of those already. It's all on autopilot. And I wanted to stand out. And as people started coming in, I kind of looked at one, and all I needed is one. And I said, what if we took it outside? It's a beautiful day out in Houston. Why don't we take it outside of that black, dark, cold room with the AC? By the way, emotional experience. I still remember how cold it was in that room. And just one said, wow, could we? That's it. And I said, why not? And then another person said, oh my God, yeah, I'd love to. Right? I'd love to. All I did is set it up for them. We moved outside. Now, a couple of things. One, they didn't know I already set up a round table outside under a tree in the shade. It was all set up, and I paid somebody $10 to watch it for me. Two, I lost my ability to present with my screen, but I didn't care. It was worth it because it turned to a conversation. I knew my stuff, right? But it stood out. People talked about it throughout the conversation later on, and I got some amazing business out of it. Standing out is one of the three keys to creating emotional relevance. Remember, to be remembered, to create a value. The second one, make an impact. This is a great ad, and I want everybody to look at it. Johnny, do me a favor.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this ad. Imagine yourself holding that cup for a second of that frozen, whatever it is.
Claims to be coffee.
Can you feel how cold your hand is now?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you another thing. Look at the straws. In your mind, can you hear? Right?
Yep.
Starbucks, they know emotional relevance. They know I didn't invent anything. I just coined the term, right? I just coined the term, but they all understand the impact of it. I'll tell you a quick personal story. I had a customer who has become a friend, Fernando, and he was in New York. For 3 months, I was selling to him online a software technology years ago. Never met him. And then after about a couple of months, they grew. They acquired this business, never mind. And he went to the office with his CTO on a Saturday. And I knew that they were there because I get an email from him asking something. And it was around 11 a.m. on a Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, 11 a.m. on a Saturday. At 12:15 p.m. exactly on a Saturday, they got a knock on the door. Fernando and his CTO. Who was there knocking, do you think, Damon?
I don't know. That's a good question.
A pizza delivery guy.
Oh, yeah.
With a nice note from me saying, I know you're working hard. Enjoy lunch, right? And I made sure I put the logo of the company I was working for there because I planted that emotional anchor, right? This is making an impact. Fernando and I have become an amazing friends. But here's the tricky part. It works the same way when it has a negative impact. If you create a negative impact, instead of grabbing your customer closer to your brand loyalty, you're pushing them away.
Yeah.
Let me show you an example. I bought my son shoes online, Adidas, right? A couple months ago. I got the email from them, confirmation. Look at this. Adidas knows emotional relevance, right? Not only that they gave me an email with the most important, pertinent information that I need, which is all I care is my son. All he cares is when is it arriving.
Getting there, yeah.
But they know that it's so important that they offered to send me, right, updates with my messenger and through text that I can track it. That was awesome. That got me that much closer to their brand. But you see something missing here. The entire email also had a missing piece here. And here's what was on that side of the email. And this is where they lost me. That was an ad from them, an email they sent to me.
Yeah.
Right? Come on. Really? What? So that's where they lost me. When you have a negative impact, it pushes you that much away. It works the same way. It cuts both ways, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? So the third element, we talked about making an impact, right? We talked about, just a quick reminder, standing out, making an impact, and now the third one is get personal. Okay? Get personal. Everybody remembers when Coke came out with this campaign. I'll tell you more than that. Andrew, do you remember going to the store and looking for your name on a bottle?
Yeah.
Yeah. We all do, right? They planted that emotional anchor in us, got us to look for our name, connected us emotionally to that, right? By the way, did you ever find it?
No.
See, but they knew it. Some people won't find it.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember that. Yep.
We have a comment here by Randy that's saying kind acts make impacts. Mark Cuban was quoted recently saying, one very important element of doing business these days is being overlooked a lot, which is be nice. Just be nice, for crying out loud. Just be nice. So Andrew, absolutely agreed. Okay, so we talked about how companies understand it. Companies know all these things, and companies put a lot of effort into it. And I want to show you a video of a commercial 15 years ago. This is 15 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, by Brussels Air. And I want you, when you watch the video, think about, point to yourself and write on the chat, if you don't mind, while you're watching the video, some of the emotional elements that we talked about that you see and identify during the video. Here comes.
Good afternoon, and 1460 is ready for vaccine.
You just ordered? Just a minute, I'll just check for you. You just ordered.
Okay, go, go, go! Mr. Smith, can you look outside? There's a message for you.
So I love this video, right? Even though it was 15 years ago, I can see the responses here on the chat. Excitement, urgency, breathless, hope, stress. Congratulations, Mr. Smith. I mean, everybody here watching this video, okay? Even poker face Johnny here, I saw a little bit of a smile, right? It gets you because it has all those elements, right? Appreciation. And Brad even said, wow, right? All these elements 15 years ago. Now, there was a survey done with about 120 small business owners. Now we're getting into communicating with your customers. 80%, a little over 80%, said that when they write the email, this is 120 small business owners and related to email campaign, sending an email campaign. 80% of them said they focus on the outcome. What do we want the outcome to be when you write an email? Only 17% were focusing on the actual response. Now, remember we talked about two-way feedback, right? Only 17% were focusing on response. And I'll tell you more than that. None of them thought of how they want the recipient to feel when receiving or reading the email. So quick tip, when you communicate, phone call, email, doesn't matter. Stop going into autopilot and write it and think, oh, I want them to react this way, this way. No, before you write anything, how do you want them to feel? Do you want them to feel appreciation, moved, excitement, joy? Because by that, it will be much easier for you then to create that trigger, to create that response. So stop. How do you want them to feel? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take the technology to the next steps now, and we're going to do an exercise. I hope everybody's ready because we're going to go back to the living room. We're going to go back to groups, and you get 8 minutes by groups, by table. Here's the exercise, ladies and gentlemen, before we throw you out there. You are a financial advisor. You are reaching out to your current customer. Your message to them is, I'm here. The feeling, I'm here. I'm still here for you. I'm your friend. Trust, friendship, comfort. Craft an email, short email. This is not email campaign. This is an individual email that will include a couple of those elements we talked about in the group, okay? And then we'll share it. We'll see, we'll take one or two as an example and we'll share it. While you're doing this, I'm going to be jumping between the groups to help. You have 8 minutes right now starting. Damon, let's see. Let's be gutsy here, Damon. Let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute. Damon, you're on mute.
We will drop out of presentation mode here. Johnny will bring us back in 8 minutes, and we're going to do this. So let's do it and have some fun with it.
Let's do it.
Just me.
No. All right. That's awesome. So let's do this.
Very good. Let's get the chat participants to drop some of what they came up with, and Alon, take it from there.
Yes.
Money.
So I actually got 2 samples, and let me see. I want to share it, so let me share the first sample I got. And am I still sharing my screen, or do I need to start sharing it again?
Share it again. Share it again.
Yes, share it or not share it. There you go.
There we go. Now we can see it.
Okay, and if you want to bring Mike into the stage so we can drill down on this a little.
I'll bring him
Mike
up.
Ryan.
So everybody can read it. Hey, Brad, you've probably gotten a million emails with hope you're okay and adjusting to the new normal. If I hear new normal again, I'm going to shout.
Yeah.
Mike, take us through it. Which elements did you try to hit with this email?
So the first element I tried to hit was avoiding the idea of empathy fatigue. We've all gotten that there's uncertainty out there. I hope you're doing well. Nobody cares anymore, right? We've been in this debacle together for the last 2 months. We all know.
Yeah.
So calling that out up front of, by saying, hey, you've probably gotten a million emails with hope you're okay and adjusting to the new normal. It kind of pokes at that. And the emotion comes in with, if I hear new normal again, I'm going to shout. And then it moves into, hey, would you be open to a call to figure out in what ways we need to adjust your portfolio? It seems like it's far better to be proactive than fall mercy of letting the market make the moves for you, right? So again, that's trying to be provocative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to translate it real quick to standing out. You try to stand out by, kind of being different, which, I really like. Make an impact. How did you make an impact here, you think? An emotional impact?
Well, I think the first one is by poking at the empathy fatigue, and then the closing impact with a little humor to say, my closing has been, be well, and I need a haircut. And
so like I mentioned to you and your team when you were working, making somebody laugh. Laughter is an emotional response, right? It's not as deep as 9/11. They won't remember it, but it is an emotional one that you can actually use it as an emotional anchor and come back to that specific, if it works well and they respond to something about the haircut and maybe even send you a funny picture, you're golden, because now you can bring that back in future communication. And that's exactly the anchor you set with that triggering of that emotion. So that was perfect. 2 comments that I want to tell you real quick when I work with my customers, right? I know this is not a good example because I just copied and pasted it from the text, but this needs to be broken down. Obviously, space it out a little, because visual has emotional impact as well.
Oh yeah.
So even just this, without reading, look how different it looks. Much more subtle, much more comfortable for the back of our mind to read something where it has a couple of spaces.
Oh yeah, right? I'm with you. And I had copied and pasted into the chat, and the spacing went.
Yeah.
So,
and from sales standpoint, I will tell you that one thing for me is missing, and it's okay to be a little more aggressive on that, is, would you be open to figure out ways, here's a link to my calendar. You kind of left it for them.
Okay.
I almost want to get a little bit more, and here's a little trick, right? Salespeople do that all the time. How's Wednesday at 10? If I don't hear from you by Thursday, right, I'll send a quick email follow-up, or I'll try you on Friday.
Yeah.
There's a lot of psychology to that.
Yeah.
Right? You're taking away that burden from them. You're being a little pushy, but it's okay, because now they expect you to call on Friday, and you took away the need for them to actually make that next step.
Got it.
Okay? A little side tip.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Of course. Mike, thank you. Let's bring one more, if you don't mind, Johnny. Brad Smith. Can you bring Brad Smith real quick?
Yeah.
All right.
Brad Smith letter was super interesting for me, because this was it. At least that's what I got from them. So this was it. This was the letter. And he said to me, it's pretty simple. I said, that's okay. It doesn't have to be complicated. But what went through your mind, Brad, and your team mind when you came up with this? Take us through the process.
Well, this is what I started with. It's like, because I've done this with pretty much everyone I'm close to. I want to, and even if I hadn't talked to him for a year, it's like, I want to know how you are, right? Because I care about these people, and I want to catch up with them. That's it, period. I want to know how they are, and I want a conversation. That's all I put out.
So, Brad and everybody else, it doesn't have to be complicated. Don't overthink it. And remember, I mentioned it is somebody that we know already, right? I didn't want to go through an email campaign for prospecting, because that's a whole different world. Somebody we know. Now, how are you? Can we catch up? I kind of like it, and it's short to the point. I got an email yesterday from somebody, another event. It was 3 pages long. Oh my God. Think anybody wants to read all these on? So I don't have anything against it. It definitely stands out, right? By the way, it might even be the email subject. And that's it. Nothing in the email body. It's a little different. It's okay, right? There's no real, other elements that are there, maybe a little missing, but I got to tell you, Brad, no issue with that whatsoever. That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Cool.
If you have any questions, please go ahead in the chat. And what I'm going to do now is do the following. I want to kind of take you through. Let me bring up my camera because I don't see the camera real quick. So just to make sure. Okay. So one of the things that is important to realize is everything okay? Yeah, we can continue. Okay. One of the things that is important to realize, and I mentioned it at the beginning, is the anchoring is just the setting. The beauty of this emotional relevance is to keep bringing it back up, because once you bring it back up, they experience it again. The thing is that it's lots of those circles of communication, cycles, constantly. So you have to be on top of it. Look, all I had to do is bring up that coin. That's it. I planted it at the beginning. Now I'm bringing up the coin. The thing is, this was 30 minutes later. But when you do it right, it stays for years. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to get into the towards the end of it. And I want to show you a video of the same airline that you saw earlier. 15 years later. Ladies and gentlemen, 15 years later, here's what they did.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Here you are. Have a nice ride.
Thank you. Wait, go. Yeah, fun. Yeah,
Flight is on 501. Feel free ready for departure and enjoy your flight.
Can you look outside, please? There's a surprise for you.
Mr. Junior, can you look outside, please? There's a surprise for you.
So, please remember that when you communicate with your customers, okay? Select the right channel of communication. We have so many options today. Email, social media, phone calls, text, right? Online, LinkedIn. There's so many options. Make it a two-way channel of communication. Make sure you are giving them the option to give you feedback. Set up the emotional anchor. Make it valuable, personal, relevant, ongoing, repeat, over time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. As I'm just finishing up, I put a link to my blog here. It's called 2 Weeks Notice. Sign up. I'm also doing a mini seminar for small business owners about this topic and more, getting into the methods of it on June 8th. And I'm going to share the link if anybody wants to sign up for it. And that's it. I'm going to stay around and go to the rooms and be able to communicate. Thank you.
Thank you, Alon.
Thank you very much, Alon. This has been wonderful, and just, man, you pushed us this week. First time we've tried video presentations in this, and the platform held up well. Operator error excluded on our end, but thank you very much. Just wanted to do that, and with that, I'll let Andrew do the conclusion, and we will have networking after this.
Great. Alon, thank you. And this has been terrific. And thanks for everybody for letting us work through our, again, operator errors, but I think we're figuring it out. It's a great tool, but exit your way. So I'm the closer here in a session. We ran over our time a little bit, which is fine because it was very engaging. And for next week, we are going to talk. We're trying to pull away and get back to business, and we've got, all of us want to talk about COVID and the crisis, and we're going to try and do that. It'll probably inevitably come back into the conversation, but navigating challenges, that's the subject next week, and Dr. Ilya, and if I'm killing the forgive me if it's Georges, who's been joining our meetings and has been a great contributor to this out of the Happiness Center. He's an author out of UCLA, and we're really looking forward to doing that. And he will be joined by Konstantinos, his writing partner in that. So that's the lineup for next week.
It's gonna be awesome.
That's it for this week. And we are going back to the tables, and just, we'll be there. If you want to hang out and chat with folks, we'd love to see you. And please come introduce yourself. I'd like to meet you if I haven't met you before.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. We're